Good evening, she said. Well, it's a bit later than we planned, obviously, because the transport in London has got a bit ding-tong, and the referee couldn't sort out his armband and his tech and everything. And Spurs were bloody terrible for 44 minutes. And then we scored, and then we managed the game quite well. I'm not really sure how to feel. Becky, how are you? What are you
I'm
thinking?
very good, thank you. I thought we were hanging on a bit at the end, with all the tackles flying in and everything. But no, I'd have taken that this afternoon or yesterday or Saturday or Thursday night. 1-0 away, and Kane does it as we hoped.
Yeah,
so yeah,
absolutely.
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, Gibbo.
All right, mate. Yeah, happy 1-0 win. I'm going to be positive. I just want to say before we carry on, the away support tonight at Craven Cottage was fantastic. You could hear them all night. You could hear everything they sang. Absolutely brilliant. But, like you said, Kane equals the record. We don't concede. And 3 points. So I'll let you go on to James, and we'll get into it in a minute, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, before I come to James, the one thing I will say is I had a really productive weekend because Spurs weren't playing, so I was able to do quite a lot. Built a couple of beds for the girls, and went
felt good.
On a nice, a couple of runs, and all sorts. But a man that did see some live football on the weekend is James. Where did you go on Saturday?
I went to, and of course I couldn't mention that I'm a Spurs fan here, but I went to watch Pompey Exeter because they're my local team, and I dragged my rugby-loving friend along. And actually, really entertaining game. And Joe Morrell, Welsh international, scored a brilliant goal. So that was entertaining. Really? He scored a half volley. Pretty good goal. Played more entertaining football than Spurs did today, actually, in League One. And funnily enough, their manager is called John Massinho, which sounds a bit like Mourinho if you say it in a Portuguese accent.
I have heard of him. I did see a lot of positive. Obviously, because we played Pompey, I did a bit of research into some of the Pompey fanzines and stuff, and channels, and I have seen some quite positive feedback. Anyway, that's enough about Pompey.
Yeah.
So let's get rid of that. Starting lineup. James, what was your thought when you saw the starting lineup?
That's depressing. That was my thoughts. I never really liked seeing Emerson Royale, and I didn't really. Who had a good game today, by the way?
Well, we're going to come to that, yeah.
But, I thought Son. I thought he needed to be dropped today. Not going to badmouth Son, but I didn't think he was brilliant. I was hoping we change up a bit, but Conte's stubborn. Conte is probably the most stubborn person in the world. How on earth his wife puts up with him, I've no idea. But
she's still in Italy, so.
Well, that's probably why they're still married, isn't it? But yeah, it didn't fill me with confidence. But it's what you expect, right? It's Conte.
Yeah. Gibbo, were you? I mean, I guess there was no Hill on the bench.
Yeah.
Apparently injured.
Or Sarr.
No Sarr.
Yeah. And Richarlison apparently isn't fit for a full game, but will be on Saturday, from the sounds of it.
Yeah. I mean, when I saw it, mate, it was a shrug of the shoulders. The team I picked to put on the socials for us, I think, had Doherty over Royale, but much of a muchness for me, both of them. Doherty's average as they come, but yeah, I thought, we got Kane on the pitch, pretty much all we need to get anything. But yeah, wasn't surprised. Didn't think Lloris would get dropped like people have been talking about. Didn't think Son would be put to the bench like people have been talking about. Didn't think we'd go 3 in midfield. So it's pretty much 3-4-3 as you were. So that's all I can say about it, really.
Yeah, Becky, did you think there was any chance that Forster might get a game between the sticks?
Well, I'd read in numerous places that there was going to be the shake-up, and it was going to kind of really make a lot of changes. Whether to kind of keep rotations or just to sort of appease fans and things. But no, it was the same team that started against City, wasn't it? So yeah, I must admit, even I was kind of bracing myself for Sonny being dropped and Forster going a goal, and I thought possibly maybe Basuma would play. Still not convinced Kulusevski's fit completely, but yeah, so it was surprising, but Maybe he's just saying, because of that strange sort of 12 minutes at City, that's what he was going to go with.
I think HG's in slightly cheeky mood. Be happy.
Yeah.
Top 6 is ours.
He's on the wind up.
He's definitely on the. He's had one of them flavoured waters he likes, isn't he?
Ooh,
Yeah.
Is that a Ribena?
Tell him to get on the show. He's normally here on a Monday.
Come on, HG, get yourself on the show. I think it's a bit. To be fair, it's 11:30 in Austria, and he does have to work in the morning. Second best away record in the league, really.
Yeah, no, I just read that.
Some awful performances at times. So, it started off, didn't it, Becky, that we were just under the cosh continuously. We couldn't pass. We couldn't do anything.
Fulham are of physical size, and with Mitrovic and Deco-Dova-Reid, and they've got some players I've actually heard of. And yeah, they're a strong side. They've been coming into it with good form. That's why people were so worried about. I tweeted yesterday, teams around us had dropped points, and were we going to capitalise? And the amount of people that were like, no, of course we're not. Blah blah blah. So yeah, Fulham, they're the home side. They've got a good crowd behind them. But like Gibbo said, the away crowd was singing from minute one. Bearing in mind that they've been there, some of them probably since about 7 o'clock. Yeah, that's what Fulham do. They're a kind of high pressing, kind of physical kind of side. So yeah, it's kind of what I expected. What was nice from our point of view is that we just sort of played our own game, which Conte will argue he's always told the players to do. And there were a few bookings and things being bandied about, weren't there, which I think kind of had an impact on second half as well. So those kind of physical kind of challenges, and then you had that like one piece of superb quality from Kane. But yeah, Fulham played exactly as I expected them to do.
I mean, would you believe Fulham only had one booking when one of their players could have probably had 3 given?
3 yellow cards. Yeah. Is it Paulinho?
Paulinho.
Yeah, the Portuguese guy. Yeah, I mean, the one on Kane, like nailed on yellow card, didn't get it. But mate, in the 45th minute or whatever it was, Kane steps up, quality bit of skill, quality finish, the main man, put it in. I don't really want to talk about the rest of the first half because yes, it was turgid. It's what we couldn't get out. What I noticed, can't stick
James,
with turgid football, mate.
What I noticed just before half time, suddenly Emerson kept popping up in little pockets in midfield, almost like the Man City fullbacks do. And then I noticed Højbjerg was almost at right centre back with Romero at right back. I don't know if that was by design, whether Conte tweaked something or it just happened. But it seemed to be that Emerson was suddenly playing. He was doing it wasn't his step overs, but he's doing really quick feet. Or I don't know what he possessed all of a sudden. But there was a difference to us, and we suddenly had the ball a bit more in those last 5 minutes of the first half.
He was getting in all these.
He's coming in. Go on, James.
He was getting in all these, to use the technical language, half spaces quite a lot, Emerson, which I think is really good. He had that shot in the penalty area, which I think was a little unfortunate. I thought it was weird because that's an Emerson we've not seen before, really, isn't it? And I don't know if he's suddenly got this newfound confidence.
Look at the grumpy face on that.
Oh.
You miserable fuckers, all of you.
What?
I'm sorry.
We've all got great big smiles on our
7th.
faces.
We went to Fulham and we beat them easily, deservedly. Fulham had no chances after the 20th minute. What are you focusing on?
4 chances in the first 20.
They had the one shot from Reed that went straight at Hugo, and that was about it. Everything else was straight at Hugo. 3 points. That is all that matters. The lineup don't care. We won a game that we had no reason to believe we were going to win, so we should be really happy. I don't get it. I don't get the.
This is my happy face. My happy face.
We have big smiles on our faces. Of course, we're happy.
Surely that
masked.
It masked the fact that we were dog shit in that first half an hour. We didn't wake up. We looked so poor, and a decent team would have steamrolled us in that first half an hour. I know
you can always tell it's a poor start when Sky start doing the whole touches in the opposition box and all of that business. And now we haven't had any shots on target. And that, do you remember from kickoff that one that Dyer flicked over and went over the keeper?
I said to John, we've had a shot.
That counted as a shot. Yeah.
Did it? Jason Cundy, wasn't it? It would have been brilliant if it had gone in.
Yeah.
Just what do you think the change was? I mean, I was just saying actually when you joined that Emerson suddenly seemed to be in these little pockets in midfield. Do you think that was a deliberate change by Conte to get him to move forward?
But it works, doesn't it? I mean, it looked pretty good,
Yeah.
and it certainly helped us go forward. So if that's a permanent thing, then brilliant. But obviously, we weren't great. I think the wetsuit just affects us badly.
Yeah.
The whole idea of playing. Yeah, Becky, it looks half decent on you, but not just no. I mean, sorry.
I like it in night matches. It looks good in night matches. I think the kind of the fluorescent tops in the dark. So.
Anyway, fine. But
it does look better in the dark.
Yeah, quite pitch black
with the lights off.
Let's just talk about the goal then. Somehow Sonny, who was poor, gets an assist. And Becky, what a beautiful finish by Harry.
Well, yeah, and to be fair, Sonny, for that assist, he's lucky to be on the pitch because that tackle that he got booked for was not that clever. I know he would have argued he was getting fouled a lot and he was being closed down. But yeah, I tweeted it was like the good old days, lovely kind of play from Son to Kane. And the way Kane kind of bends it around those kind of 2-3 defenders and doesn't even really get it in the bottom corner, but doesn't need to because of the way he's kind of hit it. And yeah, it's wonderful. I'm really pleased with him because it was his 300th appearance today as well. So he's done it on his 300th appearance as well.
Yeah, okay. HG, any comments on the goal?
Only that I had a feeling it was going to go in as soon as he turned to his left. If he got half a yard, going to find the corner. Yeah, I mean, you're right. We didn't really do much. We didn't really create anything. But if you give Harry Kane half a yard on the edge, of find the net, and of course it means so much, right? 266 goals for Spurs. That's an insane number. Like I used to look at that Jimmy Greaves number and think no one's ever getting anywhere near that, right? And to think that. I sat there and tried to think how many of those 266 I've actually seen in the stadium, and not that many. It's quite sad, but just I don't know. Like at half time, I screamed. I didn't care. I didn't care that we'd been bad. I cared that we'd scored and that we were ahead. Think of how bad we were. They weren't great, Fulham. I
don't think they were great. HG. No, sorry, Matt. I didn't think Fulham were that good. People were been bigging up, but I didn't think they were that great.
I do like their left back. I do think their left back is a really...
I did think a couple of times he could have been more decisive and really gone at us, but he sort of kept turning back into a bit like Cess does, but he's better than Cess. There's no doubt in my mind. He's got pace. Much better, but he did seem to sort of not want to quite attack us a few times, I thought, which was maybe again...
Emerson Royal. He was scared of Emerson.
Do you know what? Royale played his second half defensively. He was really good, wasn't he? Much better with the ball, and Romero had a couple of moments as he tends to do, but he was pretty good as well. Obviously, Dyer had his usual pass the ball out.
There weren't too many times today that the ball went wide to Emerson Royal, and there was no one within 10, 15 yards of him. And that's when we see him at his worst, is when it's like, okay, you've got the ball, you've got time. Today, again, Kulusevski loves to hug the touchline. That helps. Absolutely helps. Because it means that Royal can move inside, which is what he wants to do. He's got someone to pass it to. The amount of times that we've had him playing as a winger, and basically whoever's supposed to be ahead of him either hasn't been there or has no interest in being. I'm not surprised. Royal is a decent defender, and if you don't ask him to do the world, he'll be all right.
I think it's like we said with Doherty when he's in that position, isn't it? Having Kulusevski in front of him makes a massive, massive difference. And when we didn't have that, I think that's another thing. We've all said that he's got mistakes in him, but weirdly, the kind of when Romero was kind of losing his head a little bit in the second half, it was Emerson that was coming in and sort of making the challenges on the touchline, and really sort of was properly on it.
I don't think Kulu had a great game today, but he's still a threat, isn't he?
I think
he's time when he doesn't look bang at it, but he's still a threat. And him and Kane are threats, and Bentancur makes a difference in that middle of the park. His pressing and his passing and his calmness and getting it off the defenders and playing out wide. And we did enough to win the game today, and that's all we had to do. But I don't think Fulham were that great. They slung balls into the box, and we defended them pretty well today, I thought.
Yeah, I'm just going to bring this one up. What you mentioned, the away fans. But within 2 minutes, you could
Yeah.
clearly hear Daniel Levy get out of that club.
I think that's the first time I've ever really heard it. Like they said, they were saying they were singing it at other games, but I think today clearly you could hear it, couldn't you? And I don't know if that's because of the acoustics at Fulham, but they were loud.
Yeah, definitely. You could really, really hear it, and then followed by Antonio straight away, which frustrated me because the way he set us up, we were just very poor first half, and obviously the tweaks changed it. But what is the problem? Why can we not start on the front foot? Has anybody got a clue? Is it because he's setting them up just to say, keep it tight and we'll try?
I think we're still getting overrun in midfield. There were a few times when, comparing it to City on Thursday, where Bentancur kind of ran the show, that he was getting closed down more frequently today, and there were a few sort of situations where he was kind of losing the ball. And I can remember a couple of times when Højbjerg's running back after people. And Fulham's final ball wasn't great, and better teams would have, hence City, would have steamrolled us. But there were a few more times where Højbjerg and Bentancur were kind of, closed down. So I still think it's the midfield. But like we've said many times, he won't play 3 people in the middle. So we have to kind of, unfortunately, make best of it.
The thing I continually notice...
it would be interesting, that if the midfield is the issue, which I think we all know it is, right? I mean, I don't think that Conte really wants Spurs to defend too much. I just think that we're outnumbered, so we end up having to defend because the other team would keep the ball. But if you want to get there early days and get the ball and hold it, then you might have to move Dyer up into midfield and say, right, Davis and Romero, you're the centre backs, and we're going to have those numbers in midfield to just get the ball. And once we've got the ball, then we can do our nice little triangles between the back 5, and we can play it back to Hugo to whack it upfield aimlessly. But once we've got the ball, we can do it. Until then, it's just you give the opponents a bit of hope, but otherwise, you're out there. We're just outnumbered in midfield by almost every team we play. Like City will do the same to us. I have no idea how Preston play, but I assume if they've been watching Spurs, they'll play 3 in midfield. That's it. I mean, I don't think it's any more difficult to explain than that.
Yeah. The thing I notice is we have a back 3. Fulham didn't press our centre-backs that much, right? They have the ball. The issue is what Fulham are doing is they're marking the wing-backs and our 2 midfielders, the four in front of them, right? So half the time, if we want to move the ball through Fulham's midfield, either we have to dribble past someone, beat a man, one-on-one, which Bentancur did a couple of times, or we have to go long. And we're outnumbered there. The issue is Fulham basically said, you can have the ball. Eric Dyer can have the ball as much as he wants to have the ball. Because he's not Toby Alderweireld. He's not going to play a beautiful splitting pass. And it's games like this that makes me kind of question what we got out of a back 3 almost. Would 2 centre backs have been better there? I don't want to harp on it too much, but it just felt like we had players where we didn't need players, and we didn't have players where we did need players. Almost. If we had almost if Romero was going forward a little bit more, because I think he's better on the ball, or maybe even if Longley played, because he's better on the ball, I think, than Davies, as much as I like Davies. You do feel maybe as if we'd have been a bit better earlier on, but I don't know if that's just because Fulham were, well up for it, and maybe we weren't quite, because the mood is a bit down after those losses, but end of the day, Fulham couldn't score, and we did, so because Harry Kane is the best striker in the world.
This is Conte ball, isn't it? This is suffer ball. James, like you're saying about these these balls we whack up, we go long, but we don't get them on the second balls, do we? We don't pick up the bits after. We're always second to, because we're outnumbered in midfield. We're sort of always chasing. I like Højbjerg, obviously, as everybody knows, but he's just putting out fires everywhere. He's just and he just looks like a busy fool, and then he just getting his toes on bits and pieces, and it's bouncing off him, and it makes him look worse, because I don't think he's playing well at the minute. But they're just sort of getting around to. There's too much ground for them to cover, isn't there?
Yeah, this worked for Conte in 2016 at Chelsea when he won the league, 2 midfield. But the crucial difference there,
they had Kante.
Exactly, they had arguably
Kante
holding midfielder in the world at that point, or of the last 20 years, right? And also, teams didn't press as much then. Teams weren't as good then. We were the other good team in the league then under Pochettino. Other than that, who was there really? You know, like
I've seen
pre-Guardiola, pre-Klopp. You know, before they became forces.
I've only seen a couple of players. I haven't got a massive viewpoint of players I've seen, but I've seen two midfielders who can do the work like two men. One of them is Conte, the other one's Verratti at PSG. If you've got players like that in there, then you can play that two in there, can't you? Because like Conte, prime Conte for him was amazing, but we haven't got that.
To be fair, for a couple seasons under Pochettino, we did play that 3-4-3. But then our midfield was Wanyama and Dembele. Dembele is a league ahead of anything we have.
Wanyama was good that year.
You had Eriksen and Ali playing in the front line, and Eriksen would drop in quite a lot, right? And even when Son played, you still have either Dele or Eriksen playing. So it was almost like we did have three in midfield because one would cut inside a lot more. So I rate Bentancur and Højbjerg. I rate Basuma. I rate Salah. I even rate Skip. Right? I rate all of them. But can they do the work of two men? Maybe not. You know.
Yeah. It's interesting. Salah wasn't on the bench. It'll be interesting if we get in the post-match. There's no doubt the press will be asking where was Salah. Go on, James.
Someone pointed out on Twitter that the channel Hill was watching the game on was not available in England. So maybe Hill's gone somewhere. Maybe he's using a pirated stream, which would be quite funny considering he's a Premier League player.
Can I just give you I've just seen a quote from Kane, apparently has said, they were talking to him, and he said, we had a good meeting amongst ourselves in the manager during the week, and they decided to get back to what they're good at.
Which is what?
1-0.
That's what I'm putting the question.
Son to Kane.
Son, give it to Son, let him pass it to Kane, or the other way round.
I mean, what I would say, I know, Becky, you said that you felt we were under pressure. I wasn't really ever worried in that last 25 minutes that we were going to concede, to be honest.
I think with all the injuries, I thought we had 6 minutes of injury time as it was. I just figured it was going to be one of them where they just popped up and got a header in the last minute. That was my worry, really.
That's because you're a Spurs fan, and that's what you know. This always happens. Yeah. Statistics. So they had more possession, but it's what you do with the possessions. Same with goal attempts. We had 3 on target. James, you had some stats about Kane.
Yeah,
read out to me
he
before we went live.
6 shots this game out of our 10, so 60% of our shots. Out of our 3 shots on target, he had 2 of them, and I think he had 4 touches in their penalty area rather. So he had more shots than touches in their penalty area, which says it all, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, and Emerson Royal had the other shot on target, didn't he? Just not long before we scored. So, I mean, stats are stats, aren't they? There's not a lot you can tell about that. League table. So, although we've played a game more, we're only 3 points off the Champions League, and we're a club in crisis.
We have to play those teams. We've got to play those teams as well, haven't we? And they've all got to play each other.
We've got to go to Newcastle. United have got to come Spurs, and they've won at Spurs, the last 2 seasons? United. Obviously, we play City in 2 weeks' time, which is our next league game. We don't have to play the top team again, fortunately. It's probably a good thing. Brighton come to us. Fulham, we've played twice. Brentford come to us. Liverpool, we've got to go there. And Chelsea got to come to us.
Yeah. I think they said before the game, Gary Neville was saying Spurs have got a lot to play for. They've just got to sort of get out of this slump they're in, and he's bang on. He's absolutely bang on. The coach and the players. There's plenty to play for. I don't know why it's gone so. This is why what the annoying bit. Behind the scenes, people think, and all the stuff that comes out, you can never tell how much of it's true. But there's plenty to play for. We've still got loads of football left. We're still challenging. Why has it gone the way it has? Why is it so flat? Why is there no life in them? And that's been a massive problem since we've come back from the World Cup.
One thing I would say is that if you remember a year ago... Oh, HG, you're on mute.
Yeah, I don't think it's just the players, though. Like I feel I feel like the biggest thing with the club right now, sadly, is the fact that the other lot are doing so well, and that adds to everything. So yes, we've had poor performances and we've had poor results, but we tend to have that every year. We tend to lose a game like Villa at home randomly, and we don't. I know we beat City quite often, but we all know there's a bit of fluke to some of those, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just it's unfortunate that the best team in the land right now is the team the last team we'd want to be the best team. But as for Spurs, yeah, we can get better, but it appears that all of our better players are fit, right?
They're getting there now, aren't they?
And we're about exactly, and we're like, it doesn't mean they're going to stay that way, but it's just this idea like Højbjerg and Bentancur as a two work better than any of the others in a two, and there's no logic to that. I think for some reason they just work really well together. Bentancur was getting so many passes today where I thought if it was Sarr or if it was Bissouma, I'd expect them to lose it. And Bentancur just doesn't. He finds a way out of trouble and finds a teammate. And he and Højbjerg together, they just work. So if you can keep those fit, then brilliant. So there's still so much to do, but I have to be positive about this. Like, if I wanted to be negative, then I would. I spend all my time worrying about how we're not doing this and we're not doing that and we should be doing this. And most of that comes down to the fact that the other lot are doing quite well. But I don't know. There's so much of the season to go. In the next it's only in 3 weeks that we play the Champions League first leg, right, in Milan. That's a huge game. Hopefully we get a few decent results before that. We've only got 3 games before that. Like, we don't have to worry about midweek games too much. Like, it's a good time to be all our players are back fit. We can get them, working well together, and we might go on a similar run to last year. I get that there are negatives, right?
Yeah.
And we've all seen them for a long time this season. But after tonight, that result is huge because
we need lift-off, don't we, HG?
But
we need lift-off.
Yeah, and getting a win at Fulham. I mean, we all know Fulham are a decent side. They've won, 4 of their last 5 in the league? That is not an easy place to go. Chelsea went there 2 weeks ago and lost. I get that Fulham, we might play that game another 10 times and Fulham could beat us 6 of them. I firmly believe that. But I don't care because we don't have to. And we won tonight. And it is kind of results right now. Like, we didn't play great, but we won. So we got the second best outcome going. I'll take that any day of the week.
Yeah. Do you just think we need, like I said, we just need lift off? I think you need Conte. If we get a couple of bodies in, that will lift the mood. It always does. And it's as if we need Conte. We're not 100% what's going on, but we need him to say, I'm going to be here till the end of the season and I'm going to give it everything. It doesn't matter what happens. In his head, just think, if I'm going to go, I'm going to go, but I'm going to give it everything and leave this club in the best position I can leave them. And he gets his, the old Conte back, and the crowd start getting behind him, and we get a few new players, and we get all our best players, and they start playing well. We'll have, we've got the FA Cup, we've got the Champions League to come back, we've got the Chelsea game at home. We got, not very often that they're playing as crap as they are and come to us. We've got some big games coming. We should be trying, but it's been so flat. We just need, like HG, so we just need a bit of positivity, and hopefully this will spark us off. I know we've said it before, but fingers crossed.
Cutting out the errors, I think, helps, doesn't it? I think they weren't, they didn't look nervy today. That I know I said there that, and someone's put in the chat that they could have been, like a last minute header and things like that. But they didn't look as nervy. And, Lloris made a couple of stops, didn't he, early on, which I'm sure would have settled his nerves. They didn't seem to be playing out from the back quite as much today as well. So that it's just cutting out the errors. And I know that's what Conte said. But we've talked about on here that possibly the errors were there because they're under so much pressure for him that they're not good enough for it. But if we cut the errors out, and we play through Bentancur and it moves to Kulusevski like it was doing today, and we just look a much better side.
Yeah,
so it is a bit of everything, and when one bit kind of goes, the whole kind of wall collapses. But if we can cut those things out, then we can go on a run. We're not out of it.
HG said this before. HG, you said this to me before when we spoke. Lloris is no good with the ball at his feet. So let's give it to his feet as little as possible. Let's keep it away from his feet. Do you know what I'm saying? And like Becky's, I don't think the likes of Dyer, possibly Davis or Longley, are and whoever plays the wing backs for us are good constantly under pressure. We've got to, I think we said it when we did the World Cup shows about England HG. Work on what we're good at, and instead of masking what we're shit at.
I feel like it's funny. We've heard a lot in the last couple of days about how Pochettino understands the club, and Pochettino is one of us and all the business. Like, I look at Conte and I think, I'm not being funny. Conte is almost like the archetypal Spurs fan, because when we win, we're amazing, and when we lose, we're the worst thing ever. And I'm not sure I can do this anymore. Right? Like, that's how it feels.
Yeah.
And so after tonight, I realised we didn't play that well. But I'm also I'm excited for the next game. I want to see us go to Preston and play well, and I think that we will beat them. I mean, weirdly enough, I had a feeling we might do well today. It's easier to say that now, but with Spurs, it is all about us. Like, if we can get everyone on the same page, we will beat more teams than we. Not that we deserve to, but we've got very good players. We've won 11 games out of 21. I've always said, if you win over half your games in the Premier League, you have a very good chance at Champions League football, which is what we want to be doing. And we want to be doing that year in, year out. And yes, I could sit there and say, well, Newcastle can go and spend all this money, and Newcastle don't have Europe, and all those things that Spurs will have to deal with. But if you want to be a big club, that's what you have to deal with. I want Spurs to be the type of club that says, you know what, we're going to go for the league, and we're going to go for the FA Cup, and we're going to go for whatever European competition we're in. And the League Cup, well, if we get to the last 4, we'll start taking it seriously. However you want to do it, but you need to have players that can do that. And that's a slow process. But if you don't think that way, if you think the whole, well, these two don't really matter, we'll go for the other two instead, then it's no wonder Spurs haven't won a trophy in ages.
Which is infuriating that we aren't in the League Cup, because Forest are playing United, aren't they? Is it United on Wednesday?
Yeah.
And you're like,
it's only the League Cup though, Beck, and HG.
I know, but it's still something, isn't it? It is, but what a waste. We were decent enough. We've got to be better than Forest, Southampton, Newcastle, the teams left in it. That's
no, I'm with you, Beck. We should be looking at winning the League Cup. We should be pushing to win the League Cup, FA Cup, and finishing the top 4. That should be what we're chasing at the minute. Getting as far as we can in Europe, but that's different conversation.
So, as Caller says, there's 90 people watching, only 36 likes. Please do smash that like button. It doesn't cost you anything and helps us out in the grand scheme of things to keep producing great content. Interesting. Caller is saying that Gary Neville said Conte, the idea he hasn't been backed is laughable. £200 million in the last 2 windows. I guess it really comes down to what you think is backed, doesn't it? Now, we did buy players like Spence, only for about 12 million or 15 million, who he didn't, or clearly didn't want. But, it's a very difficult question, isn't it, actually?
I feel like the issue that Spurs fans have is that we didn't strengthen the areas that we all thought needed to be strengthened. Right? Mm. And that's it. I can understand Bastoni didn't want to come to Spurs. If he doesn't want to, I don't think Kane will ever go outside of England. It's quite possible for people to just playing for their favourite team, which is Bastoni, what he's doing. So, Conte might want Bastoni, but well, tough luck, right? If he doesn't want to come, you get on with it. Was Longley the best we could have got? Maybe not. Hopefully not. I don't know. But I still think having Longley around has been an improvement. But it's just the idea of that right wing back position and wanting someone to come in and be, because we know how important the wing backs are. We got one in for the left hand side. We didn't get one in for the right hand side, and the one that we got hasn't been played. But that's the thing that rankles. Anyone who says that Conte hasn't been backed has an agenda against Levy, sadly, because he has been given money. But whether we've spent it in the right way, well, that's a different question. We needed a second striker. Richarlison is a good player, Premier League proven, everything that people would say we want, but we haven't had a chance to really rotate for various reasons. Or we've played him on the wrong side. There are decisions that have happened after the signings that I would completely disagree with, but the signings have happened. Bissouma is a very good Premier League footballer. We all know that. So it's just the fact that it hasn't worked out. Well, who is that on? But to say that the money hasn't been spent or that the manager hasn't been backed, it just feels like if it doesn't work out exactly, or if Conte doesn't come out and basically visit him on holiday himself, or do the scouting himself, people will always just look for a crack to blame someone else.
I think we'll be signing that Porro within the next few days as well. I think that will happen. I think that I've got a feeling that'll happen.
It is kind of ridiculous that it hasn't though, because I feel like the reason why Porro hasn't happened yet is because Spurs are like, City could sign him from you for 20 million, and you want 45, and so we'll offer you, we'll split the difference, right?
Yeah.
That way you get more than you could, because you're right, City could easily just buy him back, and then if they wanted to, sell him on to Spurs. After what's happened at Arsenal, I'm not sure they'd be that stupid again to strengthen a rival. But that's probably Levy's negotiation position, and I don't think Sporting are going to fall for it. I think Sporting will be like, you know what, that's that.
HG, what's the situation with that with transfers? Would you have to be loaned to us because you can't transfer twice in a window? Is that correct?
Yeah, I know you.
I think that's why Romero.
Play. I mean, I know you definitely can't play for more than 2 clubs in a season, and Sapporo's only played for 1. But as to whether, players are bought all the time and then loaned out or loaned back.
Yeah.
So I suspect there would be some kind of...
I have a feeling because that's why Romero, we didn't buy him originally. We had to loan him because Atalanta had to buy him from Juve first. Yeah.
But there's a way around it, but it just feels that, that Levy's played a hand that wasn't as strong as he thought it was.
Yeah, I'm not sure City are going to help us out, but then City could make £10 million profit out of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, because they need the money.
Well, for FFP, if FFP is a thing, as we'll find out with Chelsea down the line at some point, with their $5 billion they're spending on players, football manager stuff.
I will recommend this. I know he's an Arsenal fan, so I probably should do it. But on Twitter, there used to be a guy called Swiss Ramble, right, who would explain finances all the time. He doesn't do it on Twitter anymore. He does like a Substack, I think it's called. But you can sign up for free, and you can read all the stuff he's done since November. And there's one on Chelsea, and sadly, it looks as if Chelsea are fine, and right now. But over the next 2 or 3, if they don't get Champions League football, they'll be in trouble. But if they keep on selling youth players or keep on selling people around, they'll be all right, because every time they sell someone like Gallagher or Guehi or whoever's gone from Chelsea recently, that counts as a massive thing because they didn't cost anything to get them in. So it works completely against everyone that they buy. But read Swiss Ramble because he does explain it quite well.
Yeah, I've just put the link in the comments. If you click on that, you just put your email address in and you'll get emails popping in with information. And obviously HG only works 2 hours a day, so he's got time to read it all.
Honestly, I read one about Preston today, and it was really informative because it shows you how little money there is in the Championship. I had no idea how little money there was in the Championship until I read that today.
Well, I mean, I know Caller wants us to have a show ready for when the accounts get released, so maybe you can join us on that one, HG, now that you're almost becoming an expert. Right. Roger Bay is a bow, so he's a patron. James Zaniolo. Is this like to happen, do you think? He's linked with Milan today, isn't he?
Yes, which means it won't happen.
He wants to stay in Italy, doesn't he, James?
Yeah, or we're not willing to pay what Roma want, which is good, because we shouldn't. It's like when Trossard went to Arsenal and there was a meltdown on Twitter, but Trossard's crap, so... it's fine. Zaniolo is not very good, and he gets injured a lot. We don't need another Eric Lamela. So maybe he's being stifled by having to play under Jose Mourinho, which we all know what that's like. But I don't care. I don't want him.
He's had more yellow cards. He's had more yellow cards than goal contributions, hasn't he? Like assisting or scoring in the last couple of years. And he's a forward.
I just don't want him. No. We don't have to
He even looks like Lamella.
2 ACLs at the age of 23.
A taller version of Lamella. And I mean,
Mourinho did that kind of cryptic tweet though, didn't he? That was it. He was asked in a press conference, wasn't he, about how he wanted to be in London, and he wanted to be in London as well, but he wasn't. He was here, and I read that as, that was a bit of a pop at Roma. He's like, I'd rather be having dinner with my family, and I'm here. So Mourinho's still as cheery as he used to be. But yeah, I thought that was quite cryptic. I don't kind of take any of the rumours anymore because, like, I agree with Gibbo just said then. If we do this, and if we do this, and if we do this, and if we back Conte, and if we buy some players, but there's like 8 days left. So, it's not. We should have been. I said this before. We should have been doing this in the World Cup. We should have been doing this at the beginning of January, not.
Dharma Traore incoming last day.
Kerry will be delighted. Kerry, if you could add some comments, because none of us have heard Conte's interview because we went live within about 3 minutes of the.
He said he's proud to be Tottenham manager.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, should be for 15 million.
Say staying then. Yeah, exactly. Say I'm proud to be manager, and I'm going to be signing a contract next week. Thank you.
Well, apparently Gary Neville has said that he needs to get his head sorted pretty much and sign a 2 or 3 year contract because they both need each other, Spurs and Conte. But
I have a Conte quote here from the press conference. Quote, when I accepted to become Tottenham manager, I was happy, and I am happy in every moment and every second of my day. My first thought is for my players, BBC, I'm guessing, and my club, and to improve, and to make the fans proud of the team. There you go.
I mean, here's a left field that probably isn't left field. What about we just swap Brian Hill for Zaniolo? Then Conte's being backed. He's getting the player that he's wanted for ages. He's getting rid of a player that, let's face it, he didn't really want anyway. And the money's probably around the same, you'd imagine. Roma would probably take that deal with Brian being a lot younger. Like, I'm not saying I want it to happen, but if Conte is in charge, it's a like-for-like switch. Zaniolo is probably much more suited to the way that Conte wants to play because he's about 6'3", Zaniolo. He's a big guy. That maybe that's the reason that Brian's suddenly injured for the last 2 games and not on the bench.
Would Mourinho want him? Because he didn't play for us when Mourinho was at Spurs.
But he wasn't at Spurs when Mourinho was. He was signed by Nuno.
He was signed by Nuno, yeah. But he went on loan. But surely if Mourinho wanted him, he would have been Spurs,
he wasn't signed by Nuno. He was signed by Paratici, wasn't he?
Paratici, yeah.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean. It was.
Mourinho I'm getting my timeline wrong. I apologise.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, but I can't imagine he's a Jose Mourinho player. Why do I think Nuno happened before Jose for a second there? I've been up
because we blocked it out.
I've been awake. I'm tired. I'm not used to getting up at 6 a.m. Okay.
We blocked out the Nuno days.
Yeah.
Keith's comment is right. Hill did look good in the Portsmouth game and the Palace game. So it would be a bit strange unless we've got a deal virtually done that we're farming him out again.
He played Hill, mate, because he had to.
Well, also with Sar not being in the squad today. Is Sar not in the squad because there wasn't no rumours yesterday that he'd been seen by somebody and they wanted to take him? And you're like, Sar's looked quite promising as well. It's like, don't take the 2 players that actually we think there might be some kind of future for Spurs.
It would be more ridiculous for Sar to go to Espanyol than Hill going to Valencia last year because I'm not convinced he'll be at Spurs long term. But Sar has got a future at the club. He's clearly a player. If we're going to loan him out, let's loan him out to a Premier League club.
Yeah,
if it comes, I'd rather
Norwich.
To Norwich Championship to get some English football. Regular football.
Sar has the highest ceiling of any of our midfielders. I believe that. I genuinely think he could be that good because he like what's that phrase? He eats up the ground. I hate that phrase, but that's what he does, right? I have a feeling that Sar could be the defensive midfielder that maybe Vieira was back in the 90s for Arsenal, where he's just rangy. He can do a bit of everything, but you just can't get past him. When he fills out, he's going to be an absolute monster. And so Brian, like if we play him down the right, get rid of him because he's not a right winger. If we can play down the left, then fair enough. But Sar, we would be beyond foolish to get rid of Sar.
I'm not saying we should, but a good loan would probably do him good, wouldn't it? If he's not going to get the games, a proper loan, like you're saying, John, possibly in this country, would benefit him. So he could play to a team where he's going to play every week.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Conte will play him. If Højbjerg, Bentancur, Basuma are fit, they'll be the first 3 midfielders that get picked.
If you were playing three-man midfield regularly, then yes, you would need him, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But it depends if he's happy with Skip or not, because Skip's had very little game time, and even the Portsmouth game, he was only a late replacement for Basuma. So yeah, I don't know. Well, I can't even remember what I was going to say now. Kane had a really croaky voice when he was interviewed.
I've just seen that. He's done his usual kind of little video tweet thing. Obviously, I can't hear it because I'm on this. He looks a bit bloodshot eyes. I reckon he probably got quite emotional and was sort of, because it is a big deal. Sky interviewed him before the game, as when he arrived off the coach, to say the usual. Do you kind of look at the records that you've got? And he smiled and went, no, I don't. And it's all about the team. And I said to Dave, he wants that record. Of course he does.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I cannot.
It is
I cannot
just baffling,
believe
isn't it?
I have seen anyone.
We've witnessed
get close to that
greatness.
record.
We have.
I've said that before. We've witnessed greatness with Kane. He will be the GOAT, won't he? Officially the GOAT when he bags one more.
He will if he signs, like the rumours that were dropped today, and he signs a new contract.
Let's just
having a party.
Hypothetically, if he was to leave at the end of the season, how many more goals do you think he'll score this season?
He'll get another 10.
10, 15.
Yeah. In the league, 10, I'd say.
Depends how far we go, doesn't it, in the competitions? How far in the FA Cup and how far in Europe? And...
Yeah, true.
Maybe 20 if we go deep.
How many has he scored in the Premier League so far this season?
16 has he got?
Yeah.
Or 17?
Is it half of our totals? Over half of our total? I mean, it's crazy.
Højbjerg must be our next top goal scorer.
Davis has got 4, hasn't he? Well, Son's got 4, but that might be in total. Yeah, that's in total.
Oh, yeah.
I think Davis has got 3. Has he got 3 in the league? I know Davis is there somewhere.
Goal scorer is Kane with 8 in all competitions. It's Kane with 18, then it's Son with 6, 3 of those game in one game.
Yeah.
Then it's Højbjerg with 5, Bentancur with 5, Kulusevski with 2, Richarlison with 2.
Yeah, Richarlison, I reckon, will have 5 by the end of the season. I reckon he'll hit 5.
Although Kulu has 5 assists and Højbjerg has 4. So there you go.
Yeah, but Son got an assist tonight. We just stop the whole assist thing.
Assists can be misleading.
Hotspur Sam just put there that he was ill. So he's saying there, Conte said that he had a virus, but he wanted to play.
Yeah,
this is understood. Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's
probably
right.
because he gets an appearance fee of like $100,000 or something stupid like that. It's like, I want to play. Sorry, Becky.
He had Vicks, probably had Vicks all over his shirt.
We used to do that, didn't they? Do you remember?
Yeah,
in the 90s?
Get the old Vicks on his shirt here.
Stuck to their shirts, wasn't it? I just want to go back to Kerry's question about Royal. I can't even see it now. Yes, Kerry, we did speak about Royal earlier and how actually.
I voted man of the match or player of the match. I've done it on the app.
I mean, he still can't cross, which I just.
But he's got Kulusevski for that. He's got Kulusevski in front of him. See, that's what I mean. It helps.
You know what?
He is what he is.
Kulusevski, the way he can wrap his right foot round the ball, I know he doesn't lift it when he's sort of off balance, is astonishing on his weaker foot. Not many players. I mean, Chris Waddle could do it back in the day, but not many players can do that. That's just unbelievable. Anyway, what else we got?
What do we think? Do we think Kane will sign? Do we think Kane will sign?
I think the next week, the only way Kane's signing is if we do improve the squad dramatically and he knows what's coming on. It's the only way he's going to sign. But there's no hurry.
I'm not sure the Conte thing is what makes him sign. I know people keep saying I'm not sure it is. I think it depends what he gets offered, where he gets offered. Obviously, like John said, a little bit about Spurs. He's got time on his side. He can just make that decision. I think he probably does. His heart probably wants to stay at Spurs. But if nothing else comes in for him, if it's going to be a sideways step, I don't think he'll go for a sideways step. It'd have to be a progressive move, and that may not materialise for him. I can only see United coming in for him, and then it's his choice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can I say what I think today was?
Yep.
I think today was a leak designed basically so that if Kane decides to go at any point, which will be Kane's decision, right? If he stays or goes, it's completely his decision. But to make sure that everybody knows that I was open to staying, but you weren't good enough for me. Like, not to throw the club under the bus, but just to make sure that all the fans know that I would have stayed, had things been better. And so, like, I get why he did it because it's smart to do that. But it also means that if he goes anywhere, because like, I don't think Kane really wants to leave London. I really don't. I think he's quite happy where he is. I think the whole family's there, both sides. Childhood sweetheart, 3 kids. Like any kind of move, even to Manchester, would be a massive wrench for him. I genuinely don't think he wants to do it. So that leaves 2 clubs that he might leave Spurs for.
Don't say Chelsea.
There are 2 clubs, right? And Chelsea is the one I'd be okay with. I could handle that, even if I would hate it. I could handle it. But I don't think he really like the Man City thing. Okay, I'm sure I think he might wanted it then.
I think that's
I just
gone.
think that it may, if it's gone, then it really is just those 2 teams. And so, like, if Kane's ultimate plan is to leave on a free and pick his choice, and he's played the game well enough and long enough to say I could go anywhere I want and they'll blame the club, that's a pretty good position to be in if you're Kane. That's awful. But bearing in mind what happened the last time in any kind of negotiation with Spurs, I think it would be the right thing for him to do.
The Conte stuff is leaks as well, isn't it? They're using the media at the minute.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Conte stuff definitely leaks. That's how they do it.
The key difference with that, though, is Conte then doesn't come out and contradict them and say, no, I'm staying, I am signing or whatever. Whereas the whole Kane thing, he doesn't say anything. It was interesting, I thought, that it said that no negotiations had happened since the summer of 2021, which is, in football terms, is quite a long time, isn't it, to have any kind of, time since any negotiations. But with Conte, they can leak things about him. He just needs to turn around and go, oh, no, I am signing, or I'm not signing, or it's the evasiveness that's, and leaving press conferences and not answering those type of questions, which is where it's fueled it, because he isn't turning around and saying any different.
What we don't know is
a big thing.
Yeah. Is Conte trying to force the club's hand to do stuff? This is the stuff we don't know. It's all conjecture.
Which apparently he's done at previous clubs. I get that.
You did it at Juve. It's his famous quote: "The board want me to dine at a €100 restaurant, and they've given me €10."
Well, they did go and spend that money, and now they're all in trouble for it, aren't they, at Juve? So it's probably not the best case to follow. Kerry agrees. Playing politics.
Do you remember, like, when Lloris was running out the last time his deal was running out, and we looked around and thought, like, is there a better spot for him than staying at Spurs? Like, that's the situation with Conte, and I think that's probably just like, if he thinks that if there's some job available that he would like to take, then I can understand why he doesn't want to sign a new deal, but there may not be, right? And the longer this goes on, the longer the Spurs play, we have some bad results. And the up and down. I mean, everyone knows what Conte's like, so it's not a surprise. He's not going to go to Real Madrid, pretty much, and they're not that club anymore. It does make you wonder that, like, if Antonio Conte wants to keep on managing at the highest possible level, that might be Spurs, but that depends on how well we do this season. I mean, there's so many things at play here. I wish the fans would be like, you know what, we're gonna like the fans were tonight. We're going to support the team. We're going to go in there. We're going to shout for 90 minutes because they were brilliant. And I had the first half on mute, but still, like, they were brilliant for the second half. And that's like, it's not a difficult thing. Like, I want Spurs to do well. Like, if we're losing and I have a go at Conte for maybe doing this wrong and making that sub wrong, it's because I want Spurs to do well. It's not because I want Conte out. It's not because I want anything like that. I want everyone to be working so that Spurs get better.
And that's his job, isn't it, HG? That is, at the end of the day, that is his job.
And our job, if we have one, is to support.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm just going to copy and paste some of the comments. So I don't know if you guys want to read it out and discuss it while I'm doing that.
So he says he wasn't angry. And that, to be clear, he just showed them the stats. So what stats is he showing them?
The defence, I think. The amount of goals they've
conceded,
isn't
it?
It?
21 goals in the last 10 games. It's there to see. We need to do more altogether. Me as well. That is bang on. That's what I want to hear. Me as well.
Yeah, I mean, committed.
Yeah, Guardiola said that in the week, didn't he? Yeah. In the week, Guardiola said when the team doesn't play well, when things aren't going well, it's on me. I'm the coach. I'm the man who's got to sort it out. That's what's been happening with Spurs, and I don't feel that Conte has been showing that. But That is what we've wanted for weeks.
I mean, even though none of us know what Kane's bonus situation is, right? If we go on basic, Conte is the best paid person at the club.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
So it should be on him. So it just, like, I get, like, I mean, like, everyone has bad days, and no amount of money is going to change that, right? So I understand that. But, like, Gary Neville said it in the pre-show, right? Like, Spurs just need to wake up and realise where they are. Like, we are not really a top 3 side. Right? We are a possible top 4 side. That's kind of where we've always been for a while. Like, we all thought it was going to be City and Liverpool that were miles ahead rather than City and the other lot. But we all knew that we were kind of fighting for third, maybe, at best, kind of. So we are. We've had a rough start. We've had a fair few injuries, much more than the other lot down the road. And we're in a position to actually do what we want to do. Now, yes, I'd love to, win every trophy going, but like I also know that that's pretty unrealistic, and it's very difficult just to win one. So let's just support the team and enjoy it. Like, the football might be bad, and it isn't fun to watch, but I'm still Spurs. I always will be.
Yeah.
And like, even though some wanker of a kid today was like, "Oh, did you watch the Arsenal match?" It's like, I can go in there tomorrow and be like, "Look, I'm a
Should have
Spurs
caned
fan.
him.
Sod you 15-year-old.
Yeah. Should have given him the cane. But lads, right, like, guys, I've been on Conte's case, but this is what you want when you're at the top. These comments, what he's coming out with now, that's what we want. That's what we need. That's what I've got on his case, because things haven't been going right, and it just feels as though, like, he'd sort of given up. But he's come out with a bit of fight today. That's what I expect from somebody like Conte. That's like music to my ears. I can get behind that. What I can't get behind is just nothing. There's nothing being done. And it just sounds like there's a bit of action now.
I was thinking about this earlier, right? For a while, it kind of felt like he was doing us all a favour.
Yeah.
Spurs, right? Like, oh, you're so lucky to have me at Spurs. It's like, well, you've been paid 15 million pounds a year, mate. Like, if any favour that costs 15 million quid, that's an interesting favour, right? I mean, but, when he wins, he seems like he wants to be here, and he's got a bit of fight, and he's willing to accept when he's got things a little bit wrong, perhaps, at least in what he's saying. And I just think, if this is the Conte that comes out every game after a loss, says, okay, we didn't play well today, we got it wrong, that's the end of it, right? And then you walk away from the press conference, right? Because that's what I would do if I was a manager. I'd take like 2 questions and then bugger off if we lost, because I don't want to talk. Why doesn't he do that? Why does he go on these, like, depressive tirades, right? Like, it's
He's just very emotional.
He said in the last ones, he said we played well, didn't he? Apart from the one before City, he said we played a good game, and it's like the Arsenal game was not a good game.
After City, he said we defended like a relegation side, which he wasn't wrong about. But on that night, I won money playing pool, so that's winning that night. I'm basically Ronnie O'Sullivan, just less of a twat. But It's
what John brought up really early on, right? We talked about you showed us the table, John, right? Like, after that, we've got City next. We all know that's a difficult game, but it is at Spurs, which is something, right? But those teams, like Newcastle away, I'm not worried. Newcastle are a good side. They don't concede many goals, clearly, but I'm not worried about that game. But everyone else, bar Liverpool, we have to play at home. Yeah. Very soon, we'll have had Arsenal out the way and Man City out the way. The best 2 teams in the league. We don't have to worry about them anymore, right? We've got Man United at home. We've got Brighton at home. We've played Fulham twice. Brentford will come to Spurs. Like, all those big games, the bigger games that we have, bar Anfield really, will be at Spurs. Like, we got 60,000 Spurs fans doing what we did against Arsenal last season. We will win those games. It is about us still. It's absolutely about us.
It's interesting, though, saying that, though, HJ, is that obviously the last 2 away games we've won 6-0. No, 5-0. And at home, we haven't scored 2 games in a row. So it's that fortress of it being at home, whether it be the way things are and the atmosphere and the way they're not starting well. Spurs are definitely a better side away recently. And like with you, I think we've got some winnable home games, but we need to be playing better and scoring and coming out in the front foot at home.
This is where Conte and the team need to do their bit. Like, get sometimes the team and that need to get the crowd going. Like the crowd get the team going a lot of time, but sometimes it's got to come the other way.
And that's easier in an away game, isn't it? Because everyone's standing close together, and it's harder at a home game when it's bigger.
I think if we get...
Go on,
sorry.
James, sorry.
Oh, thank you. I think if we get, which I think we'll get someone in, even if it's Steve McBarkley from the National League, right? If we get anyone in, Porro, Zaniolo, whoever, that will make everyone feel a bit better, right? It'll make Conte feel a bit better. That'll give us a bit of a boost. I think if we win the next round in the FA Cup, which we bloody should, it's going to give us that bit of push. And if we get everyone at the club feeling a little bit better, then the harder home games, if everyone's a bit more up for it, maybe if Levy cuts the price of a pint a little bit, so everyone's, a bit drunk, and they'll feel a bit better, then, I think we have a chance in these games. We always have a chance in these games. I haven't really felt true belief when watching Spurs since Pochettino and maybe some of the games last season under Conte, right? But, we're not in a dreadful position. If we can get... and John Fitzpatrick says...
I don't know what he's trying to tell us.
What,
trying to tell us something.
Crikey.
Do you know what he's trying to tell us?
Yeah, I think I've got it.
There we go.
Look, like Levy out, brilliant. You can be Levy out for 160 hours a week, right? And for the 6 that Spurs are playing, you can say, I'm supporting the team. You can be Levy out outside the stadium. You can do all your protests, all your interviews you want. But when we're playing, you are Spurs, and Spurs be your focus, not Levy. Otherwise, it's just posturing. Do the rest of it outside the games. Like, the last thing we need when we play Man City in 2 weeks is everyone talking about, is the protest going to happen? How big's it going to be? Like, we need to protest outside. Brilliant. Don't buy merch. Fantastic. Don't go if you're that nonsense. Fine. But whoever goes needs to support the team. Because clearly, we are not the best team in the league. Therefore... you feed off each other. Like Eric Dyer's talked about that at the end of last season when we threshed the Goons. Like everyone was kind of energized by each other. And sorry, but I think it's much easier for 55, 60,000 people to energize 11 than for 11 to energize the other lot. Especially when those 11 have got 11 people trying to stop them. Like it is up to us to support our team. I get it, you're paying a lot of money and I don't go, so it's maybe easy for me to say this, but if I was there I would be supporting my team. I wouldn't be thinking, here we go again. Just got to do it. If we concede, sod it, cheer some more. That's the only thing we can really do. And it's frustrating that the away fan bit, because they've got that siege mentality. Well, we need to do that as well as a whole club. Say screw everyone else. We are going to do what we need to do. And I think if we do that, the unity that Conte talked about tonight, we will have it and we will get what we want. Whatever that is, we will get something that we want.
I agree. I don't want other teams to come to Spurs and be shit fucking scared by the atmosphere. I want it to be, it's Spurs. That's terrifying, right? This isn't, we're not, it's not an Old Firm game, right? There isn't going to be fights in the streets because someone's had a bit too much Bucky at 10 a.m. Although Buckfast is actually brilliant. I've tried it. But, I'm just going to say to John, not my father, to John in the comments,
okay,
you are allowed to have that opinion that you don't like Enoch. Fair play, mate. Completely understand it. But if you're that pissed off, stay at home. Go to the pub, have a couple points, spend time with your wife and kids if you have them, or your husband and kids, or whatever. Go to the park, walk the dog. Just don't go to the fucking stadium. And when the players need a bit of support, need a bit of a lift.
She's winding up.
Happy clapper. I just said for 95% of the week, you can be as miserable as you want to be. You can be as angry as you want to be, right? But be happy and support the team if you are lucky enough inside the stadium. If you are lucky enough, because I am not lucky enough to be able to go every week, and I would love to. So, it's not about me, right? Like, my team lost. Well, boo-hoo, my team has lost a lot. But me being angry that my team keeps on losing, you've got to support the team and help them win. That's not being a happy clapper. That's just understanding your role. The team is not there to make your life better. You are there to make theirs. And if you can work together, fantastic. We will get whatever it is that you want. But that is not being a happy clapper. That is understanding the relationship between the fans and the team. Right? Everyone loves Pochettino, but they loved him because Spurs won. And the fans got behind it and everyone was working together and it brilliant. But it's got to start from somewhere, and I can only affect me. I can't affect anything else. I can affect my attitude to watching Spurs. It just pisses me off. We won tonight, and here we are talking about Enoch again.
I think if you wanna protest after the game or before the game, absolutely. And we've got nothing against. But you're right. When the game's on, we need to focus on helping our team because the atmosphere, some of the games has been terrible. I know FA Cup games are difficult because it's full of kids, but all we could hear because we were sat next to them was 2 fucking hours of play at Pompey. So much that James put his earbuds in during the game.
Can I make 2 points about that game against Pompey? One, the kid who was not sat next to me, but 1 seat along, he was well up for that. That kid must have been like 10, and he's one of the most vocal people I've ever met, to the point where I want to buy that kid a pint when he turns 18, because he's going to be a proper ultra when he turns 18. That kid was well up for it. 2, look, end of the day, during the 90 minutes, support the Spurs players who are playing, get behind the manager, and afterwards, if you want to slag off Levy on Twitter, on YouTube, or Twitch, go for it, ain't my life. Plenty of things I don't like in the world. But if you're focusing on bollocks like that all your life, cheer the fuck up.
And like HG said, we've come on here today to talk about Tottenham winning. We've discussed Levy in, Levy out. Tonight's a reaction to the match.
Yeah.
That's what we're here to talk about tonight. It says on the headline when you come in, we're talking about the match and we've won away from home. That's what we want to talk about.
And we kept it clean sheet.
And my 2 pence worth here is that we've said this before. Once it starts getting a bit kind of personal, or kind of some of the language is, well, what do you know? I'm a season ticket holder and I pay for this and I go here and I go across all around the world. It doesn't make you any less or any better than anybody else. Everybody else has got their own opinion, and although we would like things to be different, when you start kind of making it personal, it's difficult to get behind that kind of support. I've seen lots of people saying, well, you go to the games, and yeah, I do. And I take my 10-year-old and I drive 4 hours there. I ain't leaving on 22 minutes. They've got my money. What is the point of that? So, we go to enjoy the game, to see the players that we absolutely love. And yes, we would like to strengthen the squad and all of that sort of stuff. But when it starts getting a bit sort of personal, it's like, I can't support it. That's where it becomes tricky, and I think that's why they get this kind of pushback a little bit.
I agree.
Yeah.
So
anyway, can we finish on a positive? Talk about some.
We won a game today. We didn't start great, but actually, I think we controlled large parts, particularly the second half. We looked comfortable. We go to Preston on Saturday, 6 p.m. kickoff, bit of a late one.
FA Cup.
Gibbo, you're back Wednesday night with Craig, aren't you?
Yeah, me and Craig. We've got Darren from the Worcestershire Spurs Supporters Club, and we've got Dom from the Today is to Discuss podcast. So it's us 4, and then obviously you've got the other regulars back on Friday. And I'm sure
I think Jack's here on Friday. I can't remember who else. HG, you here Friday? I've lost track now.
Yeah. I think I'm down for Friday.
Yeah,
so
and hopefully Caller won't bail on this one.
But as well, John, just want to say we've had some really good viewing figures, haven't we? We've got some people in, so continue to keep watching and getting other people to watch.
Please share the Cheese Room out to your friends, any Spurs fans. Let them know about it, and please like and subscribe so you get your notifications. Your little ding dong there. Click that like button; it'll be really helpful to us. And Sam says, yeah, we were the best team from the 30th minute. We were indeed. Just if we could be great, if we could be the best team from the first minute. And there's a cat on the screen. My cat's asleep.
And I've got, this is Smudge. Hello, Smudge.
Hello, Smudge. And Kane had fever. Still wants the game. I thought he was really good tonight, Kane. One of his better performances. But it helps when you're playing 2 centre backs, not 3, doesn't it, as well? So on that note, I'm going to say I've got to find the video, haven't I? I'm going to say, "Come on, you Spurs!"
Come on,
Come on, you
Spurs.
Spurs.
Support